Compound interest will make you rich. Compound interest is a lie. You've probably seen these YouTube titles floating around, but which of them are true? In this video, I explain compound interest, why it can make you rich, but why it can also bankrupt you. By the end of this video, you'll get an appreciation for how powerful it is and how long it will take to make your first million. I'm Matt. I have 15 years behind me in finance. I've been a number cruncher at 2 top hedge funds, and I hold the Chartered Financial Analyst qualification. So what is compound interest? Which of these two options would you pick? £1 million in 30 days, or a penny today that doubles every day up to 30 days? I know you'd be tempted to pick the million. I certainly would. But if you can hold on, after 30 days, if you took the penny to begin with, you'd have over £5 million.
Great success.
But that assumes a growth rate of 100% per day. Annualize it, and that means an approximate return of this. Not bad, to be fair. However, that would be a guaranteed scam. You're more likely to achieve this instead. The point is, compound interest exhibits exponential behaviour, not straight line stuff. It's growth on top of previous growth of your money. The examples I show in this video use simplified assumptions, constant returns, no taxes, fees or inflation, but real life is messier. Markets fluctuate and taxes keep us poor, but it still shows the power of compounding. A more realistic example, you deposit 10k into a savings account, paying 5% interest each year. You're lending the bank money. That's right. You are lending them money, so they owe you. And to compensate you for lending them money, they pay you interest. So you earn £500 at the end of the year. You don't withdraw that interest, and you keep it in your account. So then they owe you your original amount, plus the amount that they promised they'd pay you. So now instead of owing you 10,000, they owe you 10,500. You decide to keep it in there for another year at 5% interest. The following year, you now earn £525 in interest because it's 5% of 10,500. So now after 2 years, you owed your original 10,000 plus 1,025 in interest. This isn't what most people think about when they think of interest being paid. Most people would think it would just remain at £500 a year. That is 5% interest only ever paid on the original amount lent. This is called simple interest. In this scenario, your money would grow linearly. Now you're thinking, wait, you mean I have to wait 2 years just to make £1,025? Mate, I need the money now. And yes, that leads me nicely on to why it doesn't work for most people. See, on its own, compounding is truly amazing. However, there are 2 issues that lead people to believe that it doesn't work. 1, we are impatient. And sadly, our patience is only getting shorter. For compounding to actually work, you need to think long term. And as a beginner or average investor, you kind of need to invest and forget. Think in terms of decades, not days. Look at the penny doubling example. You make a pittance in the first 2 weeks, and that's at an annual growth rate of a bajillion %. But after 3 weeks, 10k is pretty interesting. And after 4 weeks, you hit the million mark. And after that, you're in rich territory. But look, almost all your gains happen in the last 3 days. And that's the nature of compound interest. Painfully slow to begin with, but much higher reward later on down the line. See, most investors have achieved somewhere between 5 and 15%. If you're constantly hitting double-digit growth each year, you are a pro. So let's be conservative and say we're earning 7% a year. Even at 7%, magic still happens. And after 30 years, you'll 8x your money. The thing you need to realise is that almost 3/4 of your total gains come in the second 15 years, not the first. If you want to quickly work out how fast you can double your money with different investment returns, then control-click on the link above and watch it later. Hopefully you're starting to see that the earlier you start, the more you can gain from compounding. 2, expectations. What does it actually mean to be rich? How much money is that to you? It may be 100k. It may be a couple of mil sitting in a bank account. The fact is,
it's all relative.
If you expect to make £1 million by throwing £100 into your savings account each month, then I have some disappointing news for you. Even at a good rate of 7%, it will take you about 60 years to get there. And that's assuming you never put your hand in the cookie jar. If you're constantly spending more than your money grows, compounding can't save you. So consider those purchases that you're making. Now, that isn't to say you shouldn't bother. I'm not saying you shouldn't bother at all. What I am saying is don't expect to wake up one day with $1 million in your account by investing your birthday money. But if you're frugal, savvy, and most of all patient, you can become wealthy with compounding. So what can you expect to wake up to? Well, this depends on 1, how much you start with, 2, how much you contribute each month, 3, the rate of interest you earn on your money, and 4, how long you leave it. Now I'm going to tell you a true story to put it all in perspective. So if you're in your 20s or your early 30s, listen carefully. Someone I knew a few years ago, late 50s, worked all his life in the same job. It was a low paid position, but he lived frugally. Didn't invest his money, he just saved it, stashed it away. He wanted to buy a property, but was concerned he wouldn't have enough for retirement. I asked how much he had, and back then it was about 200k. So he'd been saving for about 30 years. And for 30 years he was saving, he did little with his money, didn't invest it. Now, assuming he was saving about £500 a month from the beginning, his total contributions would have been about 180k. Now, if he invested in the FTSE 100 and reinvested all the dividends, he would have walked away somewhere in the region of 600k. And that's with all the ups and downs, including the global financial crisis. He could have retired there and then. Now, if like most people, you're working for someone else, assuming you can actually get a job now and keep it, given AI, then you'll literally work more years than you need to for your boss. Something to consider. Now, what makes this worse is that inflation was eating away at his money all the time he was saving, meaning he was poorer in real terms than what he thought he was. The money in his account bought fewer goods than it should have done at that time. Now, if you want to know what inflation is, how it happens, check out the link above. Let's say you're 25 years old and you start investing £200 a month in a retirement account, and it's averaging 7% annual equivalent rate. By the time you're 65, you'll have contributed about 96,000 of your own money over 40 years. That account won't have 96 grand in it. It'll have almost £500,000. Now let's say you wait until you're 35. Same £200 a month, same 7% return, but you invest it for 30 years instead of 40. And that racks up to about 235 grand. See, by starting 10 years earlier, you contributed only 24,000 more, but you ended up with an extra 265k. That's compound interest. But get this, if you only invested from the age of 25 to 35, just £200 a month, and then stopped completely, you'd have invested a total of £24,000. And if you left the money in the account with no additional contributions, right, you didn't put another penny in, it would grow to over 260,000 by the time you're 65. And that's more than someone contributing £200 every month for 30 years. You would have only done it for 10. The person who invested less and started earlier earned more on top. But here's where this gets really important, because compound interest doesn't just work on your investments, it works on your debts too. And that's where it becomes your enemy. Take your average credit card rate of 25%. If you're in debt to the tune of £10,000 and you're only making minimum payments, that interest gets added to your balance. So what feels like a manageable problem can easily balloon into a 50, 20k problem over time. The same force that makes you wealthy instead is bankrupting you. So the key lesson here is that compound interest is neutral, right? It doesn't care about what your goals are. It's a force that amplifies whatever you give it. So if you give it assets and time, it can make you wealthy. Give you debts and time, it's going to bury you. There's one more thing that compound interest most people completely miss. Fees. Now let's say you're investing for retirement and you're choosing between two funds. One is a typically actively managed fund with a 1.5% annual fee, and the other is a low-cost index fund at 20 bips fee. That's 0.2%. Now, on the surface, 1.3% difference doesn't seem that much, seems quite small. But over 30 years, it can have a dramatic effect on a 7% annual account. That's just a 1.3% difference, so it does seem pretty small. But if you invested £500 a month for 30 years and you got a 7% annual return before fees, with the low-cost fund, you'd walk out of about 567,000, and in the high-cost actively managed fund, you'd walk out with 447,000. So that 1.3% fee difference has actually cost you about 120 grand over 30 years. See, fees compound too. So that 1.5% isn't 1.5% of your contributions, it's 1.5% of the entire growing balance every single year. So as your account gets bigger, that fixed percentage represents more and more actual pounds. We've learned that compound interest exhibits exponential behaviour, growth on growth. Doubling a penny every day is a scam. And we need to temper your expectations of turning £100 into £1 million. So what do you do now? Assuming you don't have a high amount of debt and you have an emergency fund for the unknowns, then just start. Not next year, not when you get a raise, now. Even if it's just £50 a month. Remember, it takes consistency and time. Most of the gains you'll achieve come in the second half of the period that you'll be investing for. Minimise fees. Every percentage point in fees is a percentage point of compound growth you're giving up on forever. So unless you have investment options that offer superior risk-adjusted returns, choose low-cost index funds whenever possible. Over decades, that single decision could be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. Be consistent. Compound interest rewards patience and regular contributions. Treat it as another bill. Set up direct debits or automatic transfers to your investment accounts, so you never have to think about it. And lastly, think in decades, not days. The reason compound interest looks like magic is because it needs time to work. If you're constantly pulling money out, switching strategies, selling at a low, or giving up because the first year doesn't look impressive, you're sabotaging the entire process. So trust the math and give it time. If you extracted any value at all from this video, then please consider subscribing. If you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them. See you in the next video.